Hi, students. This is Alina and Professor Breyer again, and we are making a little video to talk in a little bit more detail about your essay 2 on Frankenstein, which is going to be due on Monday, July 7th at 11:59 p.m. One thing I always like to point out about this essay is that for the last 3 years I've been teaching this class, there's always a big drop in grades between essay 1 and essay 2. Essay 2 tends to be the essay that people get their lowest grade on. And I think the big reason for that, well, I know the big reason for that is that students tend not to give enough details and examples from the book to prove their points, the points they're making in their essay. So Alina and I are going to give you a lot of suggestions about how to find all the details and examples you need. And remember that details and examples are not just quotations. They may be things a character did or said. There are lots of different things that make up the kind of details that give you evidence for your claims. I'm going to point you to a video that gives you a good rundown on how to find evidence. But also, if you're unsure what I mean by this, I really encourage you to reach out to Alina or me and show us your rough draft so we can help you make it really strong so that you can do well on this essay and avoid that dip that often comes between grades between essay 1 and essay 2. Okay, so as the instructions say, this essay is in the form of a speech to young inventors. And again, as in all the essays for this class, because they're all so different, it's really important to just follow the instructions really closely. And so you're going to be writing about how Frankenstein may be a cautionary tale for young inventors. For example, a cautionary tale is a story that warns us away from a mistake. So The Boy Who Cried Wolf is the ultimate cautionary tale. It warns us away from lying because if we lie, it warns us when we're really telling the truth, nobody's going to be there to believe us. Um, Start off your speech with an introduction, welcoming your audience of young inventors and thanking them for doing the required reading for the conference, Frankenstein. End your introduction with a claim, a thesis about why you think every young inventor could benefit from reading Frankenstein. And then the body of your speech should have three main parts. These main parts may not just be one paragraph. One of them could be 3 paragraphs long. One could be just 1 paragraph. They don't need to be the same size. First, you're going to need to show that Frankenstein is very much a product of the Age of Enlightenment. And to prove this, you should select at least one quotation, probably from early in the novel, before the creature is created, but it might be from later, that shows the immense faith Frankenstein has in science, which he sometimes calls natural philosophy. Early on in his story, he's telling us how obsessed with science he is, what his great hopes are in creating the creature, what he hopes for and dreams about. So give us this sense. He very much is like Diderot or Kant, um, or Descartes in that section, and that he really believes that if we just have enough knowledge, we could lead good, fulfilling lives. Another way you're going to prove to us that Frankenstein is a product of the Enlightenment is to include a quote from another Enlightenment thinker, but it must be one we've read in class, and it must have a page number that refers to a reading from class. So you cannot quote from one of Kant's other works that we didn't read in class or one of Descartes' other works that we didn't read in class. You must be quoting from something we read in class. So in that first section, a quote from Frankenstein, the novel, that shows his immense faith in science before he makes the creature. And also a quotation from one of the Enlightenment thinkers we read in class to show how Frankenstein is really a product of the Enlightenment. Secondly, show how Frankenstein's view of knowledge and science changes as a result of his experience with the creature. And there are lots of events and things that happen in the novel that cause his views to change. You might think about what surprises him about the creature when he's first born, how he handles that surprise, what the creature does that affects Frankenstein's life, what the creature wants, and why Frankenstein ultimately decides not to give it to him. This is the section that often students lose a lot of points on because they just jump right to Frankenstein's views change without telling us why his views change. What happens to him? What does he discover about what he's created that makes him question, that all knowledge is good? And then in the final section of your speech, relate what Frankenstein has learned about the potential dangers of science and the potential unintended consequences of scientific advancements to one or more specific advancements we have today. And I gave you some examples down here. You could pick at least one or more from here, or you might think of one or two that you know of beyond this list. That's fine. And finally, in your conclusion, articulate what you believe the takeaway is from Frankenstein for your audience of young inventors. And I've got some thinking questions for you there on that topic. I also encourage you to review the rubric I will use to grade this essay, but going to the bottom of this page, I'm going to click here and make sure it's there. I want you to notice on this rubric that mechanics is only 10 points, but the three supporting sections that I just described make up 45 points of the rubric. So having specific details and examples from the book for your essay is going to be super, super important. I also want to take you to a video I just posted that I think will also give you more information about what I mean when I say you need details and examples for evidence. And that video comes right after the discussion of Essay 2 in this week's module. It says, check out this video to make sure you have enough evidence in your Frankenstein essay. And it's a Khan Academy video that explains what it means to say you're providing evidence for your claim. So when you say Frankenstein is a product of the Enlightenment, you need to have details and examples to prove that's true. Mostly quotes, probably, for that part. When you say Frankenstein's views about the creature and about science specifically, actually more about science, change over the course of the novel, you need details and examples and quotes to show me that, to prove that to me. And when you say that, scientific progress, scientific advancements often have unintended consequences, you need details and examples and evidence for that claim. So I encourage you to check out this video too, to make sure your essay is super strong. Okay, I've talked a lot. I'm going to let Alina say a few things about her experience of doing this essay and what she thinks you need to know to succeed on it.
Hi everyone, and I would definitely say that this was harder than the first essay, like significantly harder, I would say, because you really need to pay attention to the details that you're providing. and making sure that your quotes are like good and backing up your claims. And in order to be able to do all that, you really need to do the reading. Um, it was pretty, I would say it was easy for me because I really liked the book. But even if it's not your favorite kind of reading to do, you really have to read it in order to do well in this essay. Same with doing the Enlightenment readings. If you haven't, for some reason, done all of those yet, I would suggest to go back and also look at those and kind of refresh your memory about those because you do need, was it at least one quote from one of
At
the
least
Enlightenment
one
thinkers?
quote from one of the
Yeah,
Enlightenment thinkers. And you might pick
yeah,
your favorite one, the one you really related to
right.
most. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, definitely just do the readings. And as you're going through the reading, keep the essay prompt in mind. And what I did was I underlined or used like sticky notes on the pages for parts that I was like, oh, I can use this for evidence in the essay. Like this is something I could really use for the essay. So it's a lot easier to just go back once you're writing the actual essay and look at what you already have instead of having to just start from scratch and be like, oh, where can I find this stuff? So that's another tip that I have. And there's a preparatory work assignment for this paper where you have to do the outline, or was it a mind map was also an option?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so definitely do that. And um, if you're like hesitant about where you're at with that, meet with one of us and we can take a look and see what you have, and then you can really build the essay from that. So don't just think about it as an assignment that you just have to get out of the way, like, but also don't stress about it too much, but like put thought into it because it's really going to help you with the essay as you're writing it. And lastly, as always, if you run into a problem with the essay or you just want someone else to take a look at it and see what you have, where you're at, what you're missing, just um, send me a message through Canvas or Pronto or message Professor Breyer and we'll be more than happy to meet with you and take a look at what you have.
Yes. And I want to show you one more thing, which is that you're having a discussion with your classmates this week about the different sections of the essay. And I did that so that you guys could help each other out with it. So you could sort of brainstorm together. So use the things that your classmates said without plagiarizing. Don't borrow their words word for word, or don't use their words word for word. But let their thoughts on the different parts of the paper stimulate you and help get you thinking about things you can include. And if you haven't started reading the book yet, I really encourage you. I know the language is difficult, especially in the beginning, but once you get into the horror story, it's really fun. And if you can read it without worrying about whether you understand every word, your life is going to be so much easier doing this paper. If you read the whole thing, take notes as you go along about what you can use in the paper. And yeah, I mean, I think it's 241 pages, which sounds like a lot, but you've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you've got 5 days. And yes, just as Alina said, if you're not sure you're on the right track, reach out to one of us so we can help. Anything else, Alina?
I think that's it for now.
All right, good luck. We're rooting for you. Contact us if you have questions. I think there we go.